to have you tonight when you say you're in love. Makes me come undone. Something perfectly wild, spinning round like a child. Oh, in all that you are good for my heart. Something rare, something strong, stands against all the odds. Love that blooms in the dark. You are good for my heart.
Hi, I'm Tom.
And I'm Chuck, and welcome to SPERO DEI. This is a place that not only welcomed my husband and me, but fully embraced and loved us from the very beginning. It's a place where our spirituality can grow and evolve.
And we are grateful for our SPERO DEI family. Enjoy the service.
The famous author and poet-philosopher Henry David Thoreau, in his well-known essay called Walden Pond, he has this interesting quote, and it goes like this: "The question is not what we look at, but it's what we see." What strikes me about that quote is, so oftentimes, this is true about me, I can look out at culture, I can look at issues that are relevant around me. I can even look at people, even my spiritual life and God. And the way I see things, I can be telling myself that that's what's actual, that's actually true. Telling myself that what I see is true when it's actually just my version of what's true. Now that's human, we all do it, and so this is why it's really important to be well aware of that. But when we hold on to resentment, when we resist forgiveness, when we continue to get very judgy about people, things, life, and we're not aware, and we actually think that our judgments are the truth. Oh, I get it. It's like an emotional and self-esteem opiate. I mean, it's a high, man. But it's actually a drug, though it might be giving us an immediate high. It's not good for us. And when we become more aware of that wow, I'm really judgy towards people or towards life with my version of life or faith or convictions. When we become well aware of that it's our version of it, we just know it's not good for our soul, and we also know it's not how our soul and our spirituality wants to be, right? We want to be beyond that. Now let me be a little more hopeful, because the last thing you need is another minister holding a Bible, teaching from a Bible, and telling you that judging is wrong and not good for us. Man, our souls are well aware of that. We don't need another minister heaping that on. And the last thing you need is another minister going into a pulpit with all the spiritual and Bible bravado saying, heaven says don't judge, it's wrong to judge, so quit doing it because you're not so great yourself. I mean, how many times have you heard that kind of message? Like, knock it off, it's wrong to judge people. I mean, we've heard that a zillion times, and even though we've heard it a zillion times, it's not like it goes to the soul and transcends and changes us. I think most people want to let go of resentments. I think most people don't want to withhold forgiveness. I think most people don't want to be judgy, and when they're aware of it, they would love to break free of it. No, instead of being told another time, cut it out, it's wrong, stop doing it, now we need a greater awareness that even though we don't want to, we need a greater self-awareness, spiritual self-awareness as to why. Why do we get judgy? Why do we do this? And so that's what I want to do today. But before we get into that, maybe we could just first get centered and still our minds and still our hearts, prepare our souls. So wherever you're at, maybe you can just close your eyes. Just take a couple deep breaths. Breathe in hope and life. Exhale. Just exhale your stuff. Relax as you exhale. God, help us this morning not to just look at things, even look at this service, but help us to see, help us to be awakened. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
There's a time for everything under the sun. At least that's what I had learned when I was young. But lately, all the time has shown is you can't trust everything you're told. This is what it's like at 31. I'm not really sure what I believe. Is it history or is it poetry? But lately all I'm certain of is there's a God and He is love, and the time for everything under the sun. But when is it time for a liberation? When is it time for new revelation? 'Cause this doesn't feel a whole lot like the Jesus we're preaching. No, this doesn't look a whole lot like the loving we're living. No, this doesn't sound a whole lot like salvation. I don't like the labels anymore. Feels like propaganda getting us through their doors. 'Cause what we say and what we mean, they don't line up and they make us mean. What the hell are we even fighting for? I'm tired of the politics and the wars, and using our theologies like swords. We've got 40,000 different names, and every name is shifting blame. I mean, is this really what the bride is for? Oh, and who said we decide who's in or out? As if you're gay, you know you'd better straighten out. Or if your skin makes us feel unsafe, just quiet down, take up less space. When's the time we learn to shut our mouth? Oh, and when is it time for a liberation? When is it time for new revelation? 'Cause this doesn't feel a whole lot like the Jesus we're listen, no, this doesn't look a whole lot like the loving we're living. No, this doesn't sound a whole lot like salvation. Salvation. I know the truth is worth fighting for, but something isn't lining up anymore. 'Cause a God who'd rather die than not have us right by his side is more about love than we'll ever know. Is more about love than we'll ever know. Than we'll ever know. Than we'll ever know. Oh. So from this day until my final breath, I'm gonna give away everything inside my chest. I won't withhold what's given me, even if you disagree. 'Cause there's a time for everything under the sun, and it's time for us to learn how to really love.
You know, there are so many things about SPERO Day that I love. I mean, folks, we are such a unique congregation. There's only a handful of churches in all of America that are having this conversation about reimagining and rethinking and reforming Christianity, and we're having that conversation, and I just love it. But one of the things that I really, really love about SPERO Day is that we are a fully affirming congregation when it comes to the LGBTQ community. We are fully affirming and accepting and honoring in every way, and I love that. So a few months ago, I went for a walk around the church neighborhood with a wonderful gentleman in our church named Matt Moran. And as we were going for this walk, he said, "David, I would like to lead a group for our church that is specific for gay men and their unique experience and the unique things that they face and have faced, and allow it to be a place where there can be very safe and transparent conversations about this." He goes, "What would that be okay?" And I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. I loved the idea. Liz loved the idea. So Matt launched his group, and the response was amazing. So earlier this week, I sat down with Matt and asked him a few questions about it. Well, Matt, just before Christmas, you and I went for a walk in the neighborhood where the church is, and you said to me, you go, "Hey, David, I'm thinking that I would like to lead a group that could gather gay men for deep conversation." You asked me, you go, how do you feel about that? And I was like, oh man, that'd be awesome. In fact, SPERO Day has not had a small group specifically for gay men. At that point, you're the first one to do it. How many men signed up for this thing?
85 in 5 days.
In 5 days,
Yeah.
85 men.
Yeah.
So obviously you were excited to lead the group,
Yeah.
coming from a real and deep place with your experience. But I think we both were blown away. I've been around small groups a long time, and have 85 people, 85 men respond like that. Why do you think that was the case specifically for this group?
Well, I think, the reason that I wanted to start the group was because I myself have struggled to meet other gay men who, like me, want to grow in their personal lives, want to deepen, want to have authentic, connective relationships outside of just dating, right? Just friendships. And so I was looking to meet some new people myself and engage with folks in an authentic, genuine way, and hopefully talk about some of the issues that we as gay men face in the 21st century. And so I think, as I came to find out, that was what a lot of other people were wanting as well. And here we are.
So the group just wrapped, and I'm curious about what you and the group experienced, but you said something a moment ago that I wonder this. One, I think all people, regardless of gender orientation, are looking for safe relationships and even wondering if they will find them, right? No matter what. But what is unique about the gay experience or the gay men experience that would go, okay, gay men are looking for safe, transparent, authentic relationships. What did you see in this group in the month and a half that you met? What was experienced?
Yeah, so something that's really unique about the gay experience, as I came to find out within this group, a lot of gay men have experienced, as I have, having spent years holding on to a deeply personal secret. For me, it was 22 years. For some men in the group, it was over 50 years.
Right, you had an age range of what in the group?
17 to 72.
And you said one of the gentlemen was a senior who recently came out?
Recently come out. He had spent basically his whole life, up to 65 years old, hiding. And, you know, it's when you do finally decide, I'm going to be honest about who I am and expose the world to this part of me, it's not like flipping a switch and then all of a sudden you're able to live as this authentic being. You've spent years hiding and learning and strategizing about how to hide and how to cover up what feels dirty and wrong and secretive. And so to then suddenly try to live authentically can be really, really challenging.
Was that a great deal of the conversation, in a sense, processing the big secret?
Yeah. For a lot of people. It was really interesting to hear from the 17-year-old and some of the younger folks who, for them, it really hadn't been that much of a change. They maybe had known that about themselves for 5 years. Well, that's significant. It's not, 20, 30 years of hiding. And so a lot of the guys, I think it just felt like one big collective exhale. I even feel kind of the emotions in me rise up in that as I say that, because there were tears in the room. Folks just saying, I've never been able to be in a room with other gay men and just feel safe, feel like I could talk about some of the loneliness, some of the isolation, compounded by COVID, all of the fear and pain that I've suffered. It was a lot. And to provide a place for people to be able to share openly and honestly, for me, it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, and so the group ended, but it didn't, right?
Yeah.
It officially ended, and so where to now?
So about 4 weeks in, we did 5 weeks, about 4 weeks in, several of the folks said out loud, we can't end this. Like, this can't be done. We need this continually. And so some of the facilitators and I decided to extend it. We decided to create a group called The Conversation, a gay men's forum, just for gay men who want to continue to develop really authentic, connective relationships with other gay men and to talk about the stuff that's going on in their lives. So we created a Facebook page, and we're going to meet once a month virtually. We're going to use podcasts, movie clips, book excerpts, just stuff that's going on in the world today to spur on conversation. And we'll break out into small groups like we did in the book club, and it's just a place to continually foster new conversation. What's been so great is even just in the first 5 weeks, so many new friendships have formed throughout the world. We had a guy from Africa, somebody from London, someone from Australia. So some of these folks are calling in at 2:30 in the morning their time. You know, that's how much they needed this connection.
One of the ways you lead it is with the transparency and the authenticity of your own life. So a moment ago, you were talking about the big secret that's common to the gay experience. Your experience of the big secret was enveloped in a lot of religious and Christian rigidity and evangelicalism, where being straight was God's way, being gay wasn't. So when you look back on that, how did you process all of that? And how did the whole big secret in a religious world, what did that do to you?
Well, I was raised in a strict evangelical home by a single mom who, in many ways, modeled for me a lot of the things about my faith that I continue to carry on into my adult life now, which I'm so grateful for. But at the same time, there was this underlying belief that being gay was just not acceptable to God and completely unacceptable way to live. And so when I finally realized that this was who I was, I really felt as if I had no option other than to end my life. And I think that sounds really melodramatic and sort of strong to some people, but that, and for a lot of people, for thousands of people, maybe millions, that is a real crisis. You know, it's a crisis and a moment of crisis. And when I came to that point, I thought, okay, I either have to completely suppress this part of me, which is intrinsic to who I am. And if you're not a gay person, you really don't understand how gelled together our personhood, our sense of personhood and our sexuality really is. I either had to give that up, or I had to give up my faith and my relationship with God. And I didn't see that either were possible. And so I attempted to end my own life. Thankfully, did not succeed. And over the next several years, I attempted conversion therapy and tried to basically, as they say, pray the gay away. And it, that didn't work, as it doesn't work for millions of other people that have been through it. And so through a lot of study of Scripture and the original Hebrew and Greek, through a lot of prayer, on my face, prayer, through a lot of counsel with friends and therapists, I finally decided to believe that God accepted me exactly as I was, that I was actually created this way. And at that point, I remember the day it happened in my kitchen, I felt like a 200-pound weight fall off my shoulders. And it never returned. And since then, my relationship with my Creator, with God, as I refer to my Creator, has just continued to expand in ways that, I don't even know how to put words around it. And this church has been such a hugely beneficial part of my life in that expansion, in that understanding, and in that foundation of just knowing that I'm loved exactly as I am in my sexuality.
I know that hugely matters to me. I'd gotten a place in my own ministry that I can't be part of a church or churches where I need to be part of a church where people are affirmed, gay, straight, bi, trans, no matter who they are, they're affirmed. And I can only imagine that talking with these 85 men, and here's what I loved about your group. Some were well aware they were part of a group that was part of a church, and then there were a bunch who weren't and never got it. And then there were, I'm sure, some that didn't think it was, and then only came to discover that it was a church. And, maybe, then wow, could I really live out a spiritual life?
Yeah, a lot of them, had been very vocal about the fact they were raised in church and had said goodbye to it forever because of how much pain it had caused them. And so I was very hesitant to bring up that this was church sponsored because I didn't want to send them running for the hills. But our second meeting, I did tell them that it was sponsored by a church, and I talked a little bit about SPERO DEI, and nobody left that I'm aware of. And they just hopefully just felt loved and welcomed, and were able to share, every dark, dirty secret openly. And I just think that's what the church is, really. That's what it should be, a place for that. If it's not that, it's not working.
That's right.
So,
Well, Matt, we're so glad you're part of this. We're so glad that you had the idea to lead a group here at SPERO DEI, and that it continues on. So we're going to look forward to seeing what happens. So
cool.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, and if folks want to join the conversation, they can look on Facebook and go to the Conversation Gay Men's Forum, and they can join and take part.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Well, hey, SPERO DEI, and I'm so glad that you are joining us today. Wherever you're watching, whether you're watching here in Nashville or some other city, some other state, I want to welcome you, but I specifically want to speak to our Nashville congregation, our in-city congregation. The staff are having significant conversations of when we are going to start meeting live again. So as you know, the COVID cases are coming down. More and more of us are getting vaccinated. So of course we are on a trajectory of soon to be meeting live. So let me tell you what I know, let me tell you what I don't know. So what I don't know is an exact date yet. So it's something we just want to observe just a little bit. But I hope to have an exact date for you very, very soon. And when we pick that date, we want to lock on that date and stick with that date. Now, what that does mean is the Easter service is going to be online. So we're not going to be meeting live this Easter. It's our second Easter. And by the way, this weekend, the weekend you're watching online, it is exactly 1 year ago that we went online. In fact, I said a year ago, hey, I'll see you in 2 weeks. And a year later, here it is. But as soon as we know that date, we will tell you, okay? The second thing I want to tell you is what we do know. And that is once we get that date, we want to open fully. It's not going to be, the sanctuary is open, but the kids' ministry is not. No. When we pick that date, we want the church to fully open. Little Sparrows, SPERO DEI kids, SPERO DEI students, the whole campus here on Park Avenue, the whole thing opens. What happens in this room, what happens in the children's area, what happens across the parking lot in our office, the whole thing, okay? We don't want to start and then have to stop. So be looking for that date, and I hope to announce it to you really very soon, really. And then we'll focus on that date, and we will open up the whole church, okay? So go get vaccinated. I got vaccinated this week, at least my first shot. I get my next in a few weeks. Our staff are getting vaccinated, and so go get vaccinated so we can all be together. Well, I've been in this series called Have You Been Hurt? And I've been talking about forgiveness and resentment and grudges, things that hurt us. And today I want to talk about that one of the things that hurts us is when we hold on to our judginess. And it's just a human thing to be very judgy or to judge other people. Obviously, some people are free from it more than others, and some do it more than others. But it's something that's so human. And so I want to talk about that because when we're just engaged in our judginess, it just keeps resentment and grudges alive. It helps, it tends to ward off healthy forgiveness. that we could be experiencing in our lives. So to do this, I want to look at an old passage from the New Testament by Jesus from the Sermon on the Mount. If Jesus had, were to have a greatest hits album, this teaching would be part of it. When you think of the Sermon on the Mount, kind of the greatest hits would be the Golden Rule, the Beatitudes. But Jesus' teaching of don't judge others, man, remove the log out of your own eye before you try to pick the speck out of someone else's eye, that is one of the greatest hits. But I also think there is some weirdness that's taught around it that doesn't help with judginess. In fact, it encourages more self-judginess. So this passage here came early in Jesus's teaching, and it was written down by others around 50 years after he lived. But let's go ahead and read this together, and then let me talk about ways that we can begin to tame the judginess in our lives so it no longer does hurt to our own soul and heart. Okay, so read along with me. Don't look at and say what is wrong in other people's lives, then other people will not say what is wrong in your life. You will be guilty of the same things you find in others. When you say what is wrong in others, your words will be used to say what is wrong in you. Why do you look at a small piece of wood in another's eye and don't see the big piece of wood in your own eye? How can you say to the other, let me take the small piece of wood out of your eye, when there is a big piece of wood in your own eye? You who pretend to be someone you are not. First take the big piece of wood out of your own eye, then you can see better to take the small piece of wood out of another's eye. Okay, so, oh man. If you have ever been on the other side of judginess, these words bring existential validation. It's like your whole soul goes, yes, quit judging me. Quit looking down on me. Why? Because these words are, they're so profound, right? It's not like these words were said by your buddy Carl down at work, who then gets with you and goes, man, I really wish Lou would quit looking down on us and judging us. Lou really needs to look in the mirror himself. It's not like these words were said by your buddy Carl. These words were said 2,000 years ago by the founder of Christianity, by Christ himself. And if you've ever been hurt by somebody's judginess of you, these words just go, yes, yes. They give solace to your soul, don't they? And they just speak to anybody that has been judged for not measuring up. Judged because of the color of their skin, judged because they failed at something, on and on and on, has felt unfairly or misrepresented when it comes to judgment. You just hear these words and go, yes. Now, if you've been on the other side of judginess, meaning you're the one who's done the judging, and folks, if I could just be honest with you about my own life, I've been more judgy towards other people than have experienced people's judginess towards me. That's if I'm honest. I've done more judging. And when you read these words, at least when I read these words, this is what they speak to me. It's like they say to me, David, you're never going to change and you're never going to transform in this life when you are fixated and focused on other people and on other people's weaknesses. Why? Because transformation never comes through an external focus upon other people. Transformation always comes when work is done internally. Internally, that's how we change. And so that's what they speak to me. So let me share with you some ways that some disrupting things I keep in my life that help tame the judginess in my life, the first thing I hold on to is a self-understanding as to why I'm judging. See, a lot of times when we're judging people, we're so focused on them, we're so externally focused, we have no understanding as to what we're experiencing and what we're feeling as to why we're judging. Now, Amy Cuddy, a researcher at Harvard, has done extensive research on this whole thing. And one of the things that Cuddy tells us about our evolutionary brains is that our evolutionary brains have two processors. They have a conscious processor, which we navigate the world through will and choice. We know exactly what we're doing. The other one is a subconscious processor. This is reflexive. This is reactive. We just respond to things subconsciously. We just do them. We don't know why they're doing. They're just so automatic. And so one of the things that Cuddy shows in her research is that when we meet people, we automatically, subconsciously, it is in our evolutionary wiring to judge them. It's just automatic. In fact, I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now. See? Those of you who speak English and know English, you could not see those words without reading them. You couldn't just see those symbols and those letters and not read them. Because you already know how to speak English, your subconscious automatically reads it. And what Cuddy says about our judgments of people, it is just automatic. We see people and we sum them up, right? Now, most of that is benign. You know, this is where they're from, or they speak with this accent, or their interests are that. It's normal to make conclusions and tell a story about somebody. But in Cuddy's research, when those subconscious, automatic processing judgments go into the biggies like race, gender, sexuality, religion, social status, when we start to conclude and make negative judgments about people, then it becomes harmful to us. And what Cuddy says in her research is this is when you have to wake up your conscious processor. This is self-understanding. And this is what Jesus is exactly speaking of. Jesus is talking about this way before the 2,000 years before the research at Harvard. In fact, let me show you this. Look at some of the things he says. You will be guilty of the same things you find in others. When you say what is wrong in others, your words will be used to say what is wrong with you. Now, let me jump in this. Some of you were taught this verse way before I ever taught this. You've heard this well before, and you were taught this in very judgy terms, right? You're going to be guilty of the same things you see in others. I don't think Jesus is teaching Christian principles here, even Christian ethics. I don't even think Jesus is teaching Christian theology. If theology, theos, is the study of God, then psychology, psyche, that is the study of self. Jesus is teaching good psychology here. He's basically saying, at least for me, listen, there's something in you that you see in others, and when you focus on others, when you focus on the faults of others and get judgy about them, about those things, you are totally missing what is actually going on in you. Like I said, you and I never transform and change by externally focusing on others. And when we make our Christian spirituality external, don't judge, because good Christians don't judge. Don't remove the speck out of somebody's eye because you got a big honking log in your own eye. When that becomes an external process of how you even then judge your own Christian spirituality, it doesn't change you. Listen, I know I'm not the first one ever to teach you this passage. You already know to be deep in Christian spirituality. You already know that Christian spirituality is not about judging others. So here's the honest question. Has that changed you because you know that, because you understand that, because you even know what a good human Christian person does? Did that change? No, Jesus is saying, see the big piece of wood in your eye. First, take out the wood in your own eye. Jesus is saying, don't focus on yourself. Have an understanding of where the judginess is coming from. Now, where is the judginess coming from in us? Like, why do we judge? When we have a greater understanding, I've done some deep work on my own life in this, and it's taken self-understanding over focusing on the external principles of this verse. The reason I judge a lot of times is I'm insecure, I'm fearful, I'm in a situation that's intimidating, that I'm in a person that intimidates me. I'm with a person that is different than me. And so I judge people. One of the other reasons I judge is I'm not aware of my own loneliness, or maybe in that moment I'm not feeling like I belong, or I feel like I'm marginalized or outcast. And one of the things that judging does, when you get around other people and commiserate and complain, oh man, there is so much bonding in complaining, commiserating, gossiping about someone, right? And so a lot of times we're not even aware of our own lack of belonging or our feelings towards that, our own loneliness. And so we start to judge and commiserate and complain subconsciously through our subconscious processor, all to feel like we're belonging. And it just doesn't work, does it? And then some of us just judge because we just have we just think we're right about everything. Like my version is right, and how I see theology, how I see politics, how I see the world, that's right. My view is superior. And so, which also comes out of, it really doesn't come out of arrogance. It really comes out of, when we have superior feelings, a lot of times it's out of insecurity and fear, senses of worth or lack thereof. But there's a huge reason why we judge. It certainly is those I just mentioned, but one of the reasons we judge is because we are just mired in self-blame. We are just mired in our own self-judgment. Some of you, when you learned the verse, before you take the speck out of someone's eye, you better take the big honking log out of your own eye. You heard that is, before you judge someone else, you better judge yourself. And you did. You thought what was good spirituality, what being a good, pious Christian was you better be hard on yourself. And some of you have been so hard on yourself, your subconscious processor just goes there so automatically. So one of the ways we tame judginess in our lives for others or for ourselves is we start to gain an understanding. What is going on in me? I'm fearful, I'm insecure, I'm intimidated. I feel less than. I feel like a failure. And so when we gain a greater understanding in that, we judge less. And this is an ongoing practice. The second thing, in addition to self-understanding, is self-compassion, self-forgiveness. Now that I'm really going to talk about next week. Next week I'm going to talk about why can't I forgive myself. But I'll just say this about it, that when you cannot give yourself self-compassion and self-forgiveness, that will only escalate judgment in other people. Because a lot of times what it does is it takes the focus of you. You don't want to spend time focusing on you. So to judge others alleviates that. So it's learning to make peace with your inner critic. It's understanding that more. So next week I'll talk about self-compassion and why is it that I can't forgive myself. So the third one is self-awareness in the moment. So how we tame judginess is we grow in our self-understanding. Why am I judging? What's happening in me? More self-compassion and self-forgiveness. But then it is self-awareness in the moment. It's taking out your noticer in that moment. So you're in a situation and you're going, oh, I get it. Oh yeah, I'm noticing I'm fearful, I'm intimidated, I'm insecure. I get why I'm judging or, very critical. I get it. And so the more you just get out your noticer without self-judgment, you just have a self-understanding, oh, I'm feeling afraid here. Being afraid is human. Not like, oh, I shouldn't be afraid. Being afraid or intimidated is human. Wondering if I'm going to belong or fit in is very human. So the more you're just getting out your noticer and practicing it in that moment, it begins to do the internal work of taming judginess. This is going towards the log in your eye. This is looking in the mirror. And instead of viewing it as a self-judgment, this is an amazing spiritual awakening that is opportune. Folks, deep Christian spirituality, deep Christian maturity is not knowing a deep Christian doctrine and then being behaviorally and pietistically holy towards that Christian life or Christian behavior. That is not what deep Christian spirituality is, I don't think. Living the godly life, the holy life. That's external. That's transactional. The deep Christian spiritual mature life is seeing Christ in everyone and seeing Christ everywhere. And when you see Christ in everyone, the person different from you, the person that holds different ethics than you, the person that has a different religion than you, just somebody who believes different and views things, someone who's completely different than you, racially, gender, sexuality, social status, all those things, all those biggies I mentioned. When you see Christ in everyone, right? This is the internal work. So we tame it by self-understanding, self-compassion, and self-awareness. So let's pray as we go. The spiritual life is about being. It's not about performing. It's about being present in the moment through understanding, through compassion, through awareness. Let's pray. God, awaken our hearts, awaken our minds to be. Help us to see ourselves and those around us with an understanding of who they are and how you value them, and ourselves too, to be very understanding of how we feel. Help us to get our noticer out and to notice these situations when we're in them, and open our eyes and our heart towards a greater love, a greater compassion, to see Christ in everyone and everywhere. In Jesus' name, amen.
as if my mind contained you, as if my thought explained you. In our image we have made you, lesser than you are. We've labeled you with titles, made you petty, made you tribal. With our words we fashioned idols and prayed your name in vain. Be still, my soul. Be still and know the presence in the silence. Be still, behold, be. Thomas Aquinas lived in the 13th century, and he taught, whatever we say about God is less like God than saying nothing. Centered in your presence, grounded in my essence, mindful only of the present, where being is enough. There's a quote by Thomas Keating that I love. He said, God's first language is silence. Everything else is a poor translation. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Be still, my soul. Be still and know the presence in the silence. Be still, behold, be.
Well, that's our service for this morning. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed it. Well, my name is Travis Spall, and I'm the Director of Operations here at SPERO DEI, and there's a number of things coming up that I want to let you know about. But before I do, I just wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you. For those who don't know, my wife and I welcomed our third baby, Kingston Hayes, just a couple weeks ago, and have received so much love and support from all of you. So I just wanted to say thank you from both me and my wife. It's been so meaningful to us, and I just can't wait to see little Kingston running around and little sparrows hopefully someday soon. Well, the first thing I want to mention to you is our Teacher of the Month. One of the things that we're doing to partner with Park Avenue Elementary is help resource and support some of the teachers there. It's tough being a teacher, and it's definitely tough being a teacher during a pandemic. And so we think this is a great way that we can help resource them as well as give them things so that they can have some self-care. So what you can do is you can go to our website, you can go to Teacher of the Month and click to give there. But we hope you'll be a part of that. It's just a way that we can continue to support and resource resource them, and show love and support for the school next door. The second thing I want to let you know about is Easter. So this year we are going to be doing Easter online, and we're going to be doing communion. And so one of the things that we want to do to help just connect and be with you is on April 3rd, which is the Saturday before Easter, we're going to be doing a Easter blessing drop-off. So what you can do is you can sign up online, and some staff or volunteers are going to come out, and we're going to drop off prepackaged communion supplies as well as some Easter eggs and goodies for your kids. And it's just a way that we can kind of do a socially distanced hello. We're going to wear masks and we're going to keep our distance, but we think it's a great way to just let you know that we miss you and wish you a happy Easter. So you can go sign up for that online. It's the Easter Blessing Drop-Off, and we hope you'll do that because we can't wait to see you. The third thing I want to let you know about is our fictional book group. India Lacerda has been taking us through some fictional books, and they've selected a new book this month called A Woman is No Man by Etaf Rum. So you can read that book throughout the month of March, and then they're going to meet on April 7th via Zoom to discuss that. So you can go online and sign up for that. It's a fictional book group led by India Lacerda. Now, lastly, I just want to say thank you to all of you that have continued to give and support SPERO DEI financially. 2020 has been a difficult year for us financially, and we've made a lot of adjustments to our budget. And so one of the things that we're asking you to consider throughout the month of March is becoming a recurring giver. So I wanted to take just a couple minutes to let you know what a recurring giver is and why it even matters to us. So when you go to sign up to give SPERO DEI, you can give one time, or you can also schedule giving consistently, whether that be weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly. But why that's important to us is if you're on vacation or you're out and about on a Sunday or you just forget, it allows your giving to be here even when you can't, which gives us some consistency in planning and budgeting so we can have a better idea of what donations we can count on month to month. So if SPERO DEI is speaking to you, if the things we're talking about, the type of Christianity that we are moving forward on is meaningful to you, we just ask you to consider not only being a part of SPERO DEI financially, but we also ask you to consider over the next couple weeks to become a recurring giver because it helps us tremendously so that your gifts and your generosity can be here even when you cannot. Well, we thank you for joining us this morning. I hope you get out and enjoy some of the spring weather, and we'll see you next week.